and crew to the next episode of Dynasty DNA Plus. Boy, do we got a treat for you here today. As last week, as I mentioned, we had Tip Major on. When I talked to Andy about this, there was a couple people right away that I had on the list, and this guy was right at the tip top of the list. It's like one of the best coaching hires decisions, it's like on your wish list. I mean, this guy was right near the top, so we're really happy to have him. But, of course, I'm always joined by my co-host for this show, the A-Train Andy Blake. You can find him on Twitter at FFATrainDNA. How you doing today, Ian?
Good. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. And that special guest we were telling you about, the one and only Ryan Miner from the Fantasy Football Face-Off. Ryan, how are you doing today? You can find him on Twitter at Ryan Miner _FFB. How you doing today, brother?
Man, I am doing great. Thanks for those kind words, too. I didn't realize I was such a huge star nowadays. I thought it was like the average Joe that you find in the grocery store. You just say, move, bud.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, we had a lot of fun last year talking rookies, and when we talked about having guests on, because during the main Dynasty DNA show, there's 4 of us, so it's so hard to have an open seat at the table. So getting someone else's professional opinion and perspective is a great thing. But Ryan, before we start, tell them about yourself. Tell them about what you got going on, because I know you're always dabbling into stuff like we are.
Yeah, so as of right now, during the season, I did the Face-Off Sports Network's waiver wire. So that was a lot of work. That was a lot of fun. What a hell of a season doing waiver wire, especially, with the Kyron Williams type of pickup, Puka Nacua. Those pickups were definitely league winners for all of us. The season ended. Thank God. I was excited for 10 because I'm just man, I'm ready to dabble in the next year already. And here we are now. We're already going in the rookie season. So it's like my Christmas season now to me, where it's between here and April, I'm just freaking going full blown all these rookies.
No doubt, man. I was we were talking, me and Andy, this is like our Christmas too. We got 4 people, like we said, and on the main Dynasty DNA show, my brother Ty and Muscles, them guys are anti-rookie. They're all NFL, current stuff, but they're they hate watching film. But this, for me and Andy, we're junkies. We can watch over and over again, can't we, Ian?
Oh, all the time, man.
You guys are junkies. If you want to hear something about junkies, it's all right, you guys have been in many rookie mock drafts with me, and I just kept going on sleeper every day, going, where are these rookies at? Where are these rookies at? And then the rookies are there, and I'm like, all right, here we go. Start to get the rookie mocks going. And then I start typing players' names in. I'm like, they're not all here yet. Some of those rookies that no one really knows about aren't still even listed yet. So excited to talk about a few of those even.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. It's that time of year, and as we all know, Dynasty's 24/7, and that's the most important thing. Before we open up here, like I said, we're going to talk a bunch of things here. The first thing we're going to talk about, I know you're hyped, the conference championship games this week. I'm going to talk the first game first. I want to see who you like in this game, Ryan. We'll start with you. We got the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs, AFC title game. Who do you like in this one to come out on top?
People are going to hate me, but I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs on it, man. It just seems like when this team gets in the playoffs, they're just on fire. I mean, we saw last week how great Travis Kelce looked. He actually looked like a vintage of himself, getting his 2 touchdowns. The Travis Kelce we all drafted in the first round finally produced, of course, after the fantasy football season's over. But, hey, we love how it's all coming together with him. But I can't knock the way Lamar Jackson's also playing, too. So, with the way this game's going to be a close one, and it's going to be a good dogfight, I feel like.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Who do you like in this one, Ann?
I actually have on the other side, I have the Ravens, and I hate to say it being a Steelers fan just because, in the division, but it's going to be tough, man. Isaiah Pacheco's a little bit banged up, so they really need him on the field. It was nice to see Kelce produce last week, getting 2 touchdowns. So if they can establish a bit of a run game here against Baltimore, maybe that does open up. Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice has really been looking great. And on the other side of the ball, yeah, Lamar, he has been playing great. Definitely think he probably locked up MVP, especially after last week. The Texans just could not stop the run. So we know Baltimore's going to come in here and just try to establish a run game and just trying to get what they can get in the pass game. And I've seen a tweet earlier. Everybody on the 53-man roster actually practiced Friday. So that's kind of rare here late in the season. So definitely a good thing for them getting healthy here. And I think it's going to be a good game, though. I can see it going either way, truthfully.
Yeah, me too, man. I mean, this is tough for me. Like you said, being a Steelers fan, but I don't know. I really, this is so tight it could go either way. But I'm like you. I think Baltimore is going to do it. I mean, it just seems like they got a lot of momentum right now. They are healthy. They are at home. I think this is going to be like a 27-30 type of game. It's going to be tight. I mean, it could come down to whoever makes the least mistakes, a turnover here, a ball bounce here. But it should be really enticing and really interesting. I mean, at least this is a good matchup. But now let's head over to the NFC side. And Ryan, I know you're hyped about this. The Detroit Lions going up against the San Francisco 49ers with a chance for them to go to the Super Bowl. I know I'm excited for this one. How are you feeling, and who do you like in this one?
I mean, excitement is not enough. Like, I can't express myself here because I'd probably either break the mic, my headphones, or something else because this town has not had this kind of hype since the Red Wings, were getting Stanley Cups. So what we're seeing now here is going to be a great game. I mean, both teams are healthy now. Deebo Samuel's back, which kind of made me mad because I was hoping he was going to be out because the way San Francisco plays without Deebo, they tend to struggle. So Deebo's kind of like a main part of the nucleus to keep this game going. He practiced in full. He's going to play. It's going to be just like the last game, that we just talked about. It's going to be who makes the least mistakes. Jared Goff is not great on the road. Jared Goff struggles outside. But I still feel like it's going to be I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, to be honest with you. But I'm going to pull out with the Lions on this one. It might be a homer pick, but I just feel like with the momentum being on their side and just watching how San Francisco played last week against Green Bay, San Francisco definitely looked beatable.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely looked like they were human last week. Green Bay, really, I mean, hey, that Carlson missed that kick. If he makes that kick, are they able to go down and score after that? I mean, you never know. I mean, at least it maybe could have went to overtime. You're right. They do kind of look a little vulnerable, San Francisco. And I know, like you said, Jared Goff being a little bad on the road. I agree with that. But one nice thing is at least it's California. I know it's a little chillier up there in San Francisco, but if we had to pick a state, that might be one of the better ones maybe to play in. So let's hope. I mean, we know he was with the Rams for all them years, so maybe a little magic can happen there. I'm with you, man. I'm going the upset here. I think the Lions, they kind of like I said about the Ravens. There's something about this team, man. They kind of got a little bit of a mystical feeling about them. Something's going to be going their way, it seems like to me. I love Dan Campbell, like we were talking pre-show. The guy could wheel his nuts around in a wheelbarrow, how brave he is.
My God.
The only thing I'm worried about, Ryan, is, I mean, we don't want any fake punts from their own 20, do we, this week?
No, I don't want to Hulk Hogan my shirt and throw it on the ground either. So, it's like, because that one screw up could definitely be the game changer. And everyone could say, it's the last seconds, but it's like, no, it's always the other plays in the game that were actually the true game changers. Because if you would have done it a different way, this could have never happened at the end.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's kind of like we talked about going for two. Hopefully they don't get in a scenario like that where everything's on the line. It's like, boy, that would be, talk about nerve-wracking. That would definitely be it. But we're going to hop over here to And in 1 second. We're going to ask him who he has for his pick here. And who do you like in this game? Do you like the Detroit Lions or do you like the
Sorry, I got an alarm going off. That's why I muted my mic.
I thought it was something I said.
No. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's a fire alarm going off.
I was wondering why you were quiet there for a minute.
Yeah, I tried to mute it so you guys didn't have to hear it. Hopefully it stops soon, but yeah, I got the Lions, man. I really hope they can win this. I mean, hey, they haven't won a playoff game since I believe it was 91. So it's their time to shine. Dan Campbell, man, he just seems like everybody's rallying around him. Now, I think what's a bit scary here is the secondary, but I mean, they've still won 2 of these games. So, and they are good against the run. I know it's Christian McCaffrey, but if they can kind of slow him down, kind of get into Brock Purdy, that'd be nice. I mean, Hutchinson's been great. So, I have a final score. I've got 24-17 Detroit. I think it's going to be a pretty close game, but I really like this for Jared Goff, man. I think he can really kind of come back and establish himself, which he's done all year, but he's kind of that underrated guy, It just seems like even in fantasy, he's a bit disrespected, but great play action guy. Both these Detroit running backs are healthy. Both are capable of taking it to the house any play. And I mean, I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's another very underrated receiver. I know TJ and I have talked about this multiple times. I mean, he just kind of seems like that guy that's just he gets you 20 points a week, and he's just forgotten about. Everybody would just rather gamble on guys like Chase, who's great, but man, Amon-Ra, he's very consistent.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because, and we are a Lions-friendly show, as you see, Ryan. I mean, that's one good thing. So anytime you come on, you're definitely a friend of this show because we're all big Lions guys. That's why I said to Ann, as far as the NFC goes, I'm always cheering for them. I really hope that they do well. But we're going to spin into this talk. We just brought up Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I want to get your feelings here. On a dynasty perspective, where do you have him in your dynasty rankings heading into 2024? Me and Andy talked about this a lot. As he said, is he a top 5 guy for you, Ryan?
He is not a top 5 guy, actually. He's a top 3 guy in my book.
There we go.
I'm just like Dan Cable, man. I'm going to put my balls right in my wheelbarrow and willing to put them right up there near the top. So I have CeeDee Lamb up there at the very top. I have Justin Jefferson right behind him. Amon-Ra St. Brown is right there at number 3.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just the way he plays, like, it doesn't matter where you place him on the field. And you guys see, like, the games. It's like he's all over that field. He's got sticking for hands. Like, it doesn't matter how, like, that ball's thrown to him. He somehow just catches it. And I'm like, this is a guy who it doesn't matter what type of scheme he's in. However he lines up, he can catch the ball from anywhere. So that's what I like about him.
Absolutely. He plays inside and out so great. I mean, just not really much weakness to his game. I mean, even health-wise, I mean, God forbid, knock on wood, I mean, he's even very, stayed relatively healthy throughout his career so far.
Yeah.
He's a PPR machine.
Yeah.
You can't deny it. And where do you have him, man, if you had to put him in a place right now, early on?
Yeah, I think I'd put him at 3 as well. I mean, like I was just saying, I think a lot of people even put like Ja'Marr Chase as like a number 1 or number 2, but I mean, I think he's got to set it around 4 for me. I got Justin Jefferson still at 1, and then CD, and then I put Amon-Ra right there. And I mean, still, I think he's closer to 2 than he is to 4.
Yeah, I agree, man. Honestly, I have him at 3 too. I mean, just because of the production and the word's consistent. We've said that time and time again on our show. You can't deny the consistency the guy gives you. And really, it's almost like a tier break, now. I mean, like CeeDee Lamb's kind of entered that Justin Jefferson tier. He still ain't quite there for me either, but he's right there. And then you got these next group of guys. When you're looking at them, what are you looking for? Consistency. I mean, A.J. Brown's a great player. Yeah. Ja'Marr Chase is a great player, but week after week, Amon-Ra just puts up the points. How do you feel about him getting snubbed from the Pro Bowl, Ryan? I didn't like that either.
No.
I think it's just maybe they know that, the Lions are going to the Super Bowl here, but no, I totally agree. Like, yeah, he shouldn't have been snubbed on it. It's just like, dude, 119 receptions on 164 targets. Come on. I mean, like, the guy just has it.
Yeah.
And, like we were saying, week in, week out consistency. And that was one thing we noticed with Ja'Marr Chase this year, where he was very inconsistent because defenses catch on to how you play, and you can't just keep throwing Ja'Marr Chase deep because eventually everyone's going to catch on to it. And it started to show more and more this year that consistency wasn't there with him like it was his rookie year and the second year, where the third year he kind of took another step back. So that's why I put Amon-Ra St. Brown over him.
Yeah, me too.
Right now.
Yeah, me too. And what's going to be interesting is if T. Higgins does walk out of the door in Cincinnati, how's Ja'Marr Chase going to handle being the solo type of guy? I mean, we've seen CeeDee Lamb do it in Dallas. When Amari Cooper departed, a lot of people thought maybe that would hurt him, like he wouldn't have the ability to step up. He did. Ja'Marr Chase is going to have like a big bullseye on him to really produce next year if T. Higgins is gone. Do you guys both think T. Higgins is gone? Do you think they bring him back?
I think he's probably gone, man. I just don't. I mean, I know they could probably find a way to make it work, but I don't know. I think he's probably going to want big money. And I mean, did he earn it this year? I mean, he was hurt relatively most of the year, and I think T. Higgins is a great player. Don't get me wrong. I just think there's going to be a team out there that pays big money for him, and I don't think it'll be Cincinnati.
100% behind you on that. Like, I just don't see Cincinnati paying him because you still have to pay Ja'Marr Chase. You still need a lot more work on that team because, what are they going to do with Joe Mixon now? Do they keep him? Do they shift away from him? And also, Tyler Boyd's could walk also. So, does he come back on a friendly deal? This whole receiving corps is going to look a lot different next season, I feel like.
Yeah, 100%. And let me ask you guys both this. If you had the opportunity now, and this might get it done in certain circles, I mean, depending on what league you're in, who you're playing with, Would you trade Jahmyr Chase for Amon-Ra? And could you think you could get a plus if you would do that?
Yeah, I would do it. I'd do it straight up, honestly.
So would I.
I do think you could probably get a plus depending on your league, man. I mean, it might not be a big plus, but like we have some buy lows later. Maybe you could throw one of these buy low guys. I mean, you might even get as much as like a second round pick at it as well. So yeah, I definitely would make that move.
How about you, Ron?
Yeah, I can't say it any better myself. That'd be exactly what I would be trying to do. Because, I mean, Jahmyr Chase is just a huge name compared to Amon-Ra St. Brown. So everyone knew who this first-round pick was. And Jahmyr Chase, you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's a fourth-rounder. So people are like, oh, well, Chase is, has all this draft capital still, because that's what everyone seems to focus on, even once they're in the league, is this draft capital. So it's like, I want him instead. But nope, give me Amon-Ra St. Brown.
And I think something else that people focus on a lot, too, is who's the quarterback going to be. But we still know it's going to be Jared Goff. I mean, they're going to make sure he's locked up for a little bit. When's his contract over? It's relatively soon, right?
I think it's next season.
Okay, next season, which I still think they'll get could you see like a 3-year extension or something as well done? I just feel like, that's a big thing going on here with I don't know, Jahmyr Chase, because I even fell for it last year. Like, could he be the wide receiver 1 overall? I thought possibly. He's in a great offense in Cincinnati, and he's tied to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow got hurt. Like, just things can happen, and I feel like that, yes, you got to take, who the quarterback is in consideration, but, man, some of these guys, it just don't matter. I mean, you've even seen Justin Jefferson produce with Nick Mullins, and Justin Jefferson was banged up, so...
And I think what would help Amon-Ra in a situation if his quarterback was banged up, he's one of the better yak guys that you see. You get the football in his hands, and he's a very violent runner, great hands. I mean, I love the guy, and that's why I wanted to bring it up with Jahmyr Chase, because like you said, Ryan, it's a great point when you use the word leverage. You can leverage that name, and you can probably improve your roster, and like we said, you could probably get a plus on that. You really could. So,
it's basically truly like a 1-for-1 deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now another question I have here. We pretty much know Ben Johnson's probably gone. Does that worry us all, much with him maybe moving on, and probably more than likely, I'd say there's a 95% chance.
Oh, so there's 2 teams left, and it's the Seattle Seahawks and the Washington Commanders. And from what I've heard today, it's looking like he's going to the Washington Commanders.
Yep.
Is it a good move on him? Yeah, because he's probably going to get the bag to go there, and he's 1 quarterback away. And with what he's done with Goff and the rest of the team, he's really brought this team up. And he stayed last year when he already had a head coaching job offer. So I think he does jump, but I just feel like Dan Campbell knows what he's doing, and he'll find a good offensive coordinator to also bring in and keep the momentum going. I mean, this happens all the time. I mean, even the offensive coordinator could already be on the team. You look at the Cincinnati Bengals; they're promoting up within. All these other teams are also promoting up within. Maybe someone's already on the organization. It could be a quarterback coach, could be a tight end coach for all we know to bring up, because the tight end position in general is one of the hardest positions to kind of coach. So if he's able to find his tight end coach, which I'd have to look up their name because I can't think of it at the top of my head right now, he could be someone I could actually see being moved into offensive coordinator for the Lions.
Yeah, and too, Aaron Glenn's another name that was kind of hot, the defensive coordinator for the Lions. And it's funny, once you start having success, how people want to pluck those guys away from you. We seen it with Philadelphia last year. You just hope maybe they can find the right guys to plug in. But, yeah, I heard Washington was extremely interested. It's funny they haven't filled that vacancy yet. I mean, these other teams are really starting to. I know what Ryan's thinking. If they go to the Super Bowl, there'll be a lot less of a chance because more time will pass, and maybe they'll get someone else in there. That would be a good thing because Ben Johnson, man, he is a very good play caller. I really like the guy a lot. And we're going to keep it in with the Lions talk. Another great guy that, from a fantasy perspective, that me and Andy, I mean, the whole community loves him, but we're pretty high on this guy going into next year. Jahmyr Gibbs. How high do you have him in your dynasty ranks, Ryan, right now? I mean, early in the season, people were panicking, going, oh, this is DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams 2.0. But it seems like down the stretch, Jahmyr Gibbs got it going. We know Dan Campbell used the phrase, I don't want to run him like a dump truck. I want to run him like a Ferrari, which I kind of like that from Dan. That was a pretty good saying. And it seems like they are starting to get him more and more involved. It's kind of nice to even see him down around the goal line a little bit. We didn't see that early in the season. How do you think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to fare next year? Where do you have him in your dynasty running back ranks?
Hey man, Dan Campbell put his money right where his mouth was. When he said that he runs like a Ferrari, he ain't lying. Jahmyr Gibbs does run like a fucking Ferrari. Oh, whoops. Sorry if I swore. I don't know if we're allowed to swear, but I just
No, you're
did.
good, man.
You're good.
Because I was just like, watching him run, man, those ankles, it's just like, I don't know how that guy can do that. But I saw him at training camp last season. The way he can move, the way his dude, like I was watching him do high knee, like going through the drugs and stuff. I'm like, how the hell how can you it's like Super Mario with a freaking star, It's just like he just goes so freaking fast. I don't even know how he does it.
It's like when he jumps in the tube and he goes from one place to the other.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, I mean it's exactly how he looks. It's like on, and it was tough at first. Like when I was looking at Dynasty Rankings, I was like, he was a 12th overall pick. I questioned it. While I was at the draft, I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, I don't understand what we're doing. Then seeing how he was going through the season, I'm like, well, this seems like a bust pick. And then seeing as the season went on, you saw him getting more and more opportunities, more in the passing game, more in the running game. And especially here in the playoffs, it's like they're fully unleashed. And he's moving up so much more in my Dynasty rankings. He was like a borderline RB1 when I started doing him. He is now my number 4 right now going into Dynasty for next season.
I love it, man. I have him at number 4 too. I got him right behind. I have Breece Hall at 1. I know a lot of people have Bijan, but I love Breece Hall. I think that he's an animal, and he's going to be healthy again next year. I got Bijan at 2, and I got CMC at 3 because hey, he's an outlier and he is what he is. But Jahmyr Gibbs is right there. He's knocking on the door at number 4 for me. The guy is extremely talented. Like you said, he catches the football, he can run the football, he can do everything you want him to, and it's nice to see them utilizing him in different ways like that. Man, getting him on the field. Guy could be a point machine, no doubt about it. Where do you have him at, Ian?
I actually got him at 3, and I mean, I got Breece at 1, I got Bijan at 2. I think you can even make an argument with him at 2. It might be a little bit unpopular putting CMC at 4, but for me, I just know, like I love CMC. I love where he is. He is getting a bit older. It's just when will it fall off? Because I think it was a TikTok, man, like. It showed him after a game, and I mean, he was bruised up so bad. I mean, he takes a beating week after week, and he had his injury struggles there. What was it? I can't remember what season. It was a couple years ago. Pretty much missed 2 seasons, so it's just always kind of something in the back of my mind. And I feel like Gibbs, man, you keep giving him more time, like he could easily be the running back 1 eventually. I truly believe that, and. Very good pass catcher, but very underrated between the tackles as well. Very tough runner. I mean, his contact balance is unreal. He gets hit and he just kind of defenders fall and he just stays on his feet.
It's crazy, especially for his size too.
Yeah, I know. I remember watching him in Alabama and I was like, wow, he's better between the tackles than I truly thought. And then in the NFL, it's like even better.
Yeah.
So it's fun to see. He's fun to watch.
Definitely going to be a terror going forward. That Lions draft class, like you said, the Gibbs pick was a little bit skeptical, but boy, getting Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then Brian Branch, a player we loved on the defense.
I loved Brian Branch. That was a great pick.
That was a steal in the second round. That was a real big steal for them. So.
And the biggest question mark, too, of Jack Campbell. Everyone was like, who? What? Why in the first round? But little do we know, it just shows that we don't know anything because the way the Lions schemed it all these players are starters. They're all playing. So it fit the offense, it fit the defense. And this was a perfect draft. Mind you, majority of these draft picks were also involved in the Matt Stafford trade. So, Matt Stafford got a Super Bowl. Now here we are, we're the Lions are pushing towards a Super Bowl. It was a win-win for both teams in the long run, no matter how this game ends tomorrow. So I love it.
That's like the classic trade that was good for both sides. Very rarely do you see that, but I truly believe that in that deal. That was a good trade for both teams. They got both kind of what they wanted. Yeah. So kind of really nice about that. But we're going to hop into some more coaching talk here. I know you're a Michigan guy as well, Ryan. I mean, I know that not just Detroit alone. I know that you're just a true homer for sure. You're like us. Let me ask you this. Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers. I mean, that was kind of something that everyone's seen on the radar ever since that job come open. Everyone knows that he loves Justin Herbert. How do you feel about Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers? You know him probably better than anybody. You watched a lot of the Michigan games. And do you think that this is good for Justin Herbert? And how do you feel this will help the Chargers from a dynasty perspective and Justin Herbert going forward? I mean, is this something that you really, really like?
I like it for. I mean, let's be real. Jim Harbaugh was a great coach when he was at San Francisco. The ownership just wanted him out of there. They got him out. 9 years later, here he is. He's back in California once again. The Chargers just seem to be like, I don't know what it is with that team. It just seems like they're cursed. Like anytime they look like they have a good season, like good on paper, good offensive line, good quarterback, good running back, good wide receivers, it all falls apart year after year. And it's just like, I'm hoping that this is the opportunity because the way Jim Harbaugh worked with J.J. McCarthy at Michigan and all the other quarterbacks prior, I hope it boosts what it can be with Justin Herbert. And that receiving core in general, I mean, it should definitely jump. I mean, could Quentin Johnson actually take that next step from being a bust and actually become something? I mean, I'm excited for him to see what actually happens. And I really want to see how the rest of his coaching staff all lays out because that's going to be the telling tale of how this offense is really going to turn out and this defense too.
Yeah, how do you feel about Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers? And I like what you said, Ryan, about them being, kind of snake bitten, kind of cursed. They do a lot of things and it don't really work out. But and how do you feel about Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers there?
I love it. I think it is good news for the Chargers here and for Justin Herbert. I mean, this guy just knows how to win. Like Ryan said, you go back to San Francisco. He did something pretty unpopular. Actually, his first year there, San Francisco was kind of a team that looked like they were maybe going to go into a rebuild and ended up being, I believe it was like 13. They won 13 games. Then next year, his unpopular thing was Alex Smith got a concussion and they moved on to Colin Kaepernick and ended up going to the Super Bowl and just losing. So, I mean, to take somebody, and I mean, Colin Kaepernick, love or hate him, he was a really good athlete and he had a pretty good arm as well. But to take that risk and to actually succeed, I think just really shows you how good of a coach he is. And then obviously winning the national championship here at Michigan, going into this year. But you even go back and look whenever he's at Stanford, they were 41-point underdog to USC. And statistically, that was the biggest upset in college football history. So, I mean, this guy doesn't really bow down to competition and he finds ways to win. He finds how to get the best out of his players. And Justin Herbert's somebody, man, I have him a little higher in my rankings, not just because of Harbaugh. I just believe in the guy. And I just, they stuck with Brandon Staley way too long and just bad picks after bad picks. We all said the Quentin Johnston pick was, very high risk. I'm not a Quentin Johnston guy. Could he turn around? I mean, this gives him the best chance, I believe, to turn it around. Give him somebody that is going to coach him up and get his weaknesses. I mean, Quentin Johnston's a big-bodied guy that just cannot win on contested catches. So maybe if they can focus on that and get his hands right, get him in situations where he can win, and try to play to some of his strong suits. So it's going to be interesting, man. But I think this is a big step for the Chargers, and could they win a division? I don't know about that. I mean, Kansas City's there. But I mean, Kansas City is going to be going through a little bit of something here. Is Travis Kelce going to stick around? I don't know. I mean, how do you guys feel about Kelce sticking around? And then if he does, is he ever going to be the old Travis Kelce? I mean, he's getting a little bit older, a little bit more banged up. So,
yeah, I agree with that. I mean, if there's a chance for the Chargers to do something, it's probably right now. We'll see what happens. I mean, we know, like you said, if Travis Kelce does leave, I mean, but I will say this, they are in cap hell. That's another thing too. I mean, that's no joke. And we know that Austin Eckler's out the door. I mean, they can't afford to keep some of these guys. And that's the big reason why their GM, that Telasco, I believe it was, he got fired because some of these contracts that he gave some of these people, I mean, and then like you said too, the bad draft picks poured on top of that was just a nightmare for them. Just didn't work out. But you said something interesting earlier, Ann, and I want to see how Ryan feels about this because there's reports that Jim Harbaugh is bringing a lot of the guys from Michigan with him, the coaching staff. And you said about Blake Corum probably going there and kind of maybe filling in to try to be like a mini Austin Eckler in that offense. Do you guys see that happen? I mean, you think that's a good landing spot for Blake Corum?
I would love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's Blake Corum, his not going to, I don't know will be his size, just because a lot of people don't think he's that big. But if you watch him play, it's just freaking 28 total touchdowns this last season. Mind you, people are like, oh, well, it's the Big Ten, He scored against Alabama twice. He scored against Washington. So it's not just a Big Ten thing. 5'8", 213. Well, he's a bowling ball, man. You know, it's like, come on. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see him going there. But I think what would even be better yet was be seeing J.J. McCarthy go there too. Even though many people have him as like a first-round pick, I just don't see him as a first-round pick like many others do. I just see him being more of a starter as a good backup, where basically he could be like the Jimmy Garoppolo of the Patriots, you know, where they draft him early and just basically just had him on the bench just to trade him and get some draft capital. Because if we look at what happened to Justin Herbert last season, who was our backup? Easton Stick. What did he do? Nothing. We could have been a better quarterback. So if Jim Harbaugh, you know, it gets what he wants, I mean, why not get another quarterback you already know? You know, add the running back to it. I mean, it could be a match made in heaven. Of course, you know, I'm still on my high note with the national championship, so of course I'm gonna say something like that. But
hey, you might
what do you expect?
You might get the national championship and the Super Bowl if you're lucky, man. That could be something. But I'll say this. I mean, I kind of like what you said there about J.J. McCarthy, because there are a lot of people like kind of overhyping him. I think I agree with you. I think he's a solid guy, but like if the Chargers were to do that, that would be very beneficial for him and them, because he, like, you're going into Jim Harbaugh's system again with the Chargers. I mean, you get to sit behind Justin Herbert, and it could be a really good thing. Do you like that? I really like that with J.J. McCarthy, the Chargers. How about you, Ann?
Yeah, I think that's a very like under talked about thing. It's a great point. I mean, we've seen this happen with multiple teams, really, man. I mean, he's more capable than Easton Stick. I mean, I'll say that right now. And I mean, look what the Jets did, man. I mean, you put your whole season basically on Rodgers. He goes out and gets hurt, and Zach Wilson wasn't the answer. They let go of Joe Flacco. Look what he did for the Browns. I mean, the Browns kind of made it work and got a little bit lucky. But like, why'd you let go of Mike White? Mike White's better than Zach Wilson. Like, you gotta really value, you know, your backup quarterback a little bit here, because these quarterbacks go down, and you need a guy in there that's capable of even taking you 500. If your guy's out for 4 weeks, win at least 2 games. We'll figure the rest out. That's how I feel.
Exactly.
Yeah, 110%. You know, they had Hacksaw Max Duggan, and they let him go, and it just didn't work out, man. If Easton Stick beats you out, that's bad. You know, so
Yeah.
they need somebody like a J.J. McCarthy in a Jim Harbaugh system. That'd be great for them, and as an insurance, if Justin Herbert misses time, and we've seen him do that, that would be great for them to continue on, soldier on. We're going to move over to the next coach here that got hired, and you know, I want to bring this one up to you, Ryan, because I want to get your feel on it, because there's so many people in the Dynasty community, on our Discord, on Twitter, that are really hyping this up. Raheem Morris to the Falcons. I mean, look, I do think anyone could probably be better than Arthur Smith. I get that. But at the same token, people are acting like these weapons are just going to be magically unlocked now that the coach is gone. Raheem Morris is a good coach, but he's from a defensive background. And two, I mean, we still haven't solved the quarterback problem. They're sitting there at 8. Maybe they get a chance to come up and get somebody. Maybe they get a little froggy. We don't know. But maybe they sign one of these veterans, or we know Justin Fields could be a possibility in a trade. But as of right now, they still haven't solved the quarterback problem. And like I said, Raheem Morris, defensive coach. I mean, I think it's definitely good for them to get a change. But I'm not ready to anoint these weapons to be great next year for fantasy purposes. It's a shame. I think they're talented. But until I see a little bit more from the Falcons, I'm still, not completely sold. How do you feel about it, Ron?
Dude, you nailed that one on the head. I am not completely sold either. Defensive head coach. All right, so he took the Rams to the Super Bowl in 2021, fell apart in 2022, rebounded in 2023. Was it him? Was it McVay? That's how we gotta look at this at the same time. And yeah, all those weapons there, but what have they done? Kyle Pitts, he's looking like a bust. Drake London, he's had his games, and then what the heck were they doing last season with Bijan Robinson? Like, you don't spend that kind of draft capital and not run the ball. Tyler Algier, who's like a huge sell high, which no one's going to buy him because everyone's going to be trying to say the same thing. Sell high. Why are you giving him the ball 15 times a game? Come on. So I thought Bill Belichick was going to go there. In all honesty, I thought that was his landing spot because that's what it really sounded like. But seeing Morris go there, it's just like he wasn't like it was. To me, it's more of a surprise hire. Like I didn't see that kind of coming. I thought it was going to be for sure Belichick. But like even Morris, he was what? An interim coach a couple times. He was let's see here. He was he was USC co-defense coordinator, and then God, I had it right here. I was just looking at. Oh,
He
here it
was
is.
with the
So Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 09 and through 11 as an interim coach, and for the Falcons in 11 games in 2020, and his record overall is 24 and 38. Does that sound like pretty promising as someone that you want as a head coach? I don't think so.
I'm glad we're on the same page. I think, and you're with us on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, does he know the McVay scheme to run the ball? I mean, we don't know. And then whenever he was a coach with Tampa Bay in that short stint, I went back and looked at some stats. I believe it was like 2.5 years or something. And LeGarrette Blount was a 1,000-yard rusher once, but it was nothing special. And I honestly, and it's unfortunate, he used Cadillac Williams a lot too. So could we just continue to see Bijan and Algier used? I mean, I think we all hope not, but we don't know. Like we can't sit here and just say like he's defensive minded, he's going to run the ball and play. We don't know that. We're trying to give facts and stuff that we know, and we just don't. I mean, and like Ryan said, I mean, how much was it McVay that won, and how much did he produce? I mean, maybe it's a better, maybe it is an okay hire for Atlanta. I'm like, I was shocked. It was like, wow, this is, kind of crazy. But as far as like we're trying to get fantasy points here and get these guys that we all love, Kyle Pitts, we all love Drake Leonard, we all love Bijan, but in fact, for one of them to hit, really none of them hit last year, and the chances of just one hitting are going to be a little bit of a stretch here. So, yeah, I mean, I think we got to be really careful here, and I think Bijan's probably the safest, but I'm even lying saying that. I mean, we're going to see. I mean, they really need to get a quarterback. They need to address that situation. It's not Desmond Ridder. It's not Marcus Mariota. I mean, I have a little bit of a buy here later. Maybe it could be, one of these guys, but they really need to address that.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I'm glad you guys are on the same page, because, I mean, it just drives me crazy because the Twitter hype. I mean, I know Arthur Smith's gone, and that's a good thing because Arthur Smith was not great there by any means. And like you said, you draft Bijan with that kind of capital, you don't run him. And it's like, it's frustrating. And I get that. So if you have a bunch of Bijan shares or Kyle Pitts shares or Drake London shares, naturally you're going to think, okay, it's going to get better. But I'm not so fast. If I had them, I'm hopeful because, you're kind of stuck. But there are definitely people I wouldn't go out and try to buy massively and thinking this is going to turn around overnight, because I just don't see it. But we're going to go over to the next coach here, and this is with the Carolina Panthers, the dumpster fire that is Carolina. I mean, bad draft pick after bad draft pick, bad free agent signing after bad free agent signing, bad trade after bad trade. We could go on and on. But they bring in Dave Canales as their head coach there in Carolina, which, I mean, I will say this. I do think that's a good move. Carolina has not had a lot of success with coaches as of late. I mean, I still think they're paying like 3 or 4 of them. They fire him after one season, but this guy is more of an offensive mind. They're going to bring him in to hopefully work with Bryce Young. We all know they mortgaged their future with that trade with Chicago. I mean, they have really no draft capital left. They bled it dry, but hopefully they can do something in free agency and maybe hit on the draft picks they do have. But I do think this could maybe be a better guy for the job, better equipped. How do you feel about Dave Canales in Carolina, Ryan? And is there any hope with Bryce Young and company?
What a handsome-looking guy, man. He's got that nice jawline. He's got everything, the team needs to actually get on the up and up. I'm kidding. The way, I mean, just like you said, like, it's like, is he just next? I don't know, like, how to view him. It's hard to kind of look at it that way because he revamped Baker Mayfield, and I think that's what kind of boosted his coaching hire here, because look what Baker Mayfield did prior to going to the Buccaneers. He was just on the Browns, and he was bouncing around, and it's like, oh god, and I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan. Like, I like the way he plays, and to see what he was able to do last year and help him take his game to the next level and actually become, so he set his own, like, he's like, career highs for everything across the board for him. So overall, I think the hire is good for the Carolina Panthers because what do they have? I mean, look at their coach prior. It was just like, that whole scheme, just like it was just toxic. And is it Dan Tepper? Is it just Tepper just trying to, like, try to take over too much and try to do too much. Maybe this time he actually lets his coaching staff actually do the coaching on it, and he just stays out of it, out of the background. But if he can get Bryce Young's game back up to par as the number one pick should be, we could be seeing a lot more. But we'll see what they're doing free agency here. And mind you, they don't have their first round pick this year either, because they also gave that to the Chicago Bears. So how are they going to, they're going to have to try to hit on their draft picks. They're going to have to try on the free agency. I'm curious to see how they do that and how he tries to piece this all together.
Yeah, no doubt, man. They're going to have to really walk the tightrope as far as trying to get this thing put back together. And, I don't know. Oddly enough, I don't think really anyone in the front office got canned. I mean, the bad draft picks and the bad signings, you would think that they just completely clean house. I'd even fire the scouting department, to be honest with you, as bad as it's been. And how do you think about Carolina here with Canals at the helm?
I was a bit surprised, but I like Canals as well. He spent a lot of time in Seattle, and just like Ryan said, he really reamped Baker Mayfield. But we got to remember, he also reamped Geno Smith too. Geno Smith had a really good year, not last year, but 2 years ago. That was his first Pro Bowl. I mean, he put up really, really good numbers. Best years he's ever had. So I think you got to kind of take that into consideration. So could he do this with Bryce Young? I think there's a good possibility, because he definitely needs some weapons. I mean, Adam Thielen's your number one wide receiver, and he's like 32, 33 years old. The Mingo pick was a bit of a risk. Mingo put up really good, metrics and stuff like that. I mean, if you're a metrics guy, but I think they need to try to find a way to get the ball into his hands, like maybe put him in the slot a little bit more. As weird as that sounds, because Mingo is kind of a bigger guy, but I feel like he plays a little better out of the slot. And that's just kind of what they were doing with Adam Thielen. So if your team's not going anywhere, I think they would have been best off to try to get rid of Thielen and just try to put Mingo in that position and try to get them a little bit of work. I mean, it was a lost season, but I don't know if there was just hope that less people would lose their jobs if they won another game or two. I don't really understand, what the thought process was, but it's what they did. And it's going to be very curious to see how they figure this out, because we can all sit here and say that, well, if they get T. Higgins, everything's fixed. No, it's not. And I mean, there's also 31 other teams that want T. Higgins as well. So, I mean, your chances to get him are somewhat slim.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially if someone throws a bunch of money at them we know Houston, is a possibility. They got a bunch of money on C.J. Stroud on a young contract. Jordan Love, up in Green Bay, I've said that time and time again. Christian Watson, you can't count on him being healthy. You add T. Higgins in with Jaden Reed and Romeo Dobbs and people like that, starting to look pretty formidable. So, yeah. I'm like you. There's a lot of suitors for T. Higgins, I believe. But, yeah, Carolina, then the Miles Sanders deal. When they signed that deal, I was never sold. A lot of people were like, he's going to have such a great year. I could run behind the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. That's how good it is. So, and that's embarrassing because, I'm out of shape pretty bad. So,
you and me both, buddy.
But we're going to go into the next question here, and it's going to be a little more rookie talk, Ryan. We know the Senior Bowl is right around the corner. Actually, next week, as a matter of fact. It's going to be coming real soon. And as you mentioned, the Combine, we're coming up on all this stuff. But name one player, Ryan, that you'd like to see at the Senior Bowl who you're most excited about that is going. Who do you like there?
Oh, my gosh. You guys ever watched the Netflix series Quarterbacks?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or the one where they did the high school players, they put them in the college, and you were following them around?
Mm-hmm.
One guy I fell in love with, he went to Oklahoma originally, Spencer Rattler.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't become that number one starter that we were hoping he would be, but he was actually projected for when he was ready to come out as not only a first round pick, but the number one overall pick. And that all just collapsed with him. But for what he's looking at now, we as analysts might not be as high on him, but I think in the actual, when he's playing in the Senior Bowl, I think he will move up in drafts, and not only in the NFL, but also in dynasty drafts, to where he could actually we could be looking at a day 2 pick here, guys.
That would be wild, and I definitely could see that. He set a lot of records. I believe he went to high school in Arizona somewhere, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember watching that show. He set a lot of stuff. I think was DJ Ugolandi behind him as well in high school. I can't remember if that was Spencer Rattler or not.
Yeah, I remember that show. That was a good show, man.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Justin Fields was on it too.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like that. That's kind of a sneaky one. And like you said, man, coming into like his college career, that guy was so hyped. So maybe he'll get a little bit of juice back and we'll see what he can do. I like that. I'm going to stick with the quarterback pool. I'm really excited to see Bo Nix. I mean, this guy's a guy like, he's kind of ranked like between 4th and 5th right now on a lot of people's boards. Just looked horrible at Auburn. Let's be honest. I mean, I remember watching some games there. It's like, this is pretty bad. But he went out to Oregon, seemed like he got his stuff together. I mean, had a really nice season, is a little bit older. Could he be someone, that fills in behind someone as a capable backup that maybe gets a chance? We'll see what happens. I mean, we all know in Superflex leagues, quarterbacks are kind of the deal, man. And it'll be interesting to see what he can do. I mean, did Oregon really help fix him, I'm saying? Or is he just, was it one lucky season? We're going to see that kind of in the Senior Bowl, through the combine process, and too, like whenever he goes to the NFL and training camp and preseason. So kind of be interesting to see. Who do you like at the Senior Bowl, man?
I got a couple guys here. The first guy I want to talk about is a small school guy out of New Hampshire, Dylan LeBay. This guy, I mean, he's put up some fantastic numbers looking over here. I mean, he had a season where he had 86 catches, I believe it is. And it's just the big part. No, I'm sorry, 68 catches last year. So, I mean, that excites you for a running back. But when you're at New Hampshire and playing like, some really small schools, how much is it? Is he just better than his competition? Is he really going to be that guy? I want to see him go against guys that are competing in bigger schools, I guess I should say. I think this is really important for a guy like LeBay to maybe even get drafted. Like, when you're a small school guy, you got to come in here and make a difference. The combine's going to be very interesting for him. So that's just kind of a name to watch out for. And the next guy I want to talk about here is actually Marshawn Lloyd. So Lloyd, he's at USC. He was a transfer. And how much was it Caleb Williams like opening things up for him, because his average was high. Like, this is a guy that's really fast and explosive and can bust off big plays. So I kind of want to see him in an atmosphere where, like, you don't necessarily have Caleb Williams under center. You have somebody else. I kind of want to see, one-on-one drills with him, how he makes people miss, and I think the rest of the community will see that. And I think this is a name that maybe he could be, a 3rd-round pick. Like, a lot of people, I feel like, are just saying this running back class is really bad. And yes, compared to last year, it isn't as good. But I think there is a couple guys in here that, could make a bit of a difference, because we see it all the time, man. There's not really a bell cow anymore. It's kind of a 2-back system. So he could definitely fit in somewhere really well and maybe establish himself a little bit of a role here.
Yeah,
I love that Marshall cuts. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was like, I was so excited when I heard that name. I was like, oh my God, that's awesome, because I just did a write-up on him, and what his knock is he never own that backfield. So he's got a lot of tread on the tires. And just like you said, I said the same thing. I see round 3 pick, early, round 4 at the latest. He's like what I like to say, like, is this year's Dameon Pierce in rookie drafts. Like, some of you didn't expect to actually get drafted that early, and then could actually bust right on the scene right off the bat. So I like it, especially the way the running backs are, because there's no such thing as bell cows anymore. Nope. There's less than a handful of bell cows. There's going to be even less next year. So I love that call, Marshawn Lloyd.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and I mean, we know, like Ryan said earlier, this running back class is not deep at all. I mean, so can we find the diamond in the rough? I mean, that's what you're trying to do if you're running back needy, and that's a guy to definitely look out for. And like you said, and LeBay as well, because I mean, you go to watch tape on the guy, I think they might got one film, like you have to play on a projector somewhere. I mean, it's kind of hard to even see what you have with that. So
yeah, I just like to root for them small school guys. I don't know, man. It's something about them guys getting picked. Like, I like rooting for underdogs. So we'll see what happens.
It's too bad Bill still ain't on the team, because, I mean, he loves guys like that. He probably would have picked him for New England, and it would have been great. So, but we're going to move over to our last topic here, and this one's a fun one. I mean, we're going to be talking dynasty buys. I mean, some sneaky dynasty buys. way too early, kind of, I would say. Kind of never can be too early to get ahead on this stuff. I mean, Ryan, we're always trying to look for that player that's coming out of nowhere that we can get for a good price that can help bolster our roster, either as a depth piece or maybe even a guy you can plug into your starting lineup every week, someone that we don't see coming, kind of. We're going to each give two. I'll start with you first, Ryan. Who's your first low-end dynasty buy, kind of sneaky guy that you like?
All right, so my low-end buy, a sneaky guy. I thought he was actually going to do something last year. He was a rookie last year, or this past season. Didn't do anything at all. Dropped down. I think he showed around the end of the season. But I'm going with the running back out of New Orleans. I'm going with Kendre Miller here.
Woo, I like it.
I like that.
Alvin Kamara's contract's coming up here. The team invested a high pick on Kendre Miller. And what else could this team needs to do everything they can to save money, because for some reason it seems like the New Orleans Saints are always in contract hell. So year after year they're like 40, 50, 60 million in the hole, and somehow they end up like 1 or 2 million under by the time everything needs to be said and done. We look at Miller. He was a 4th running back selected in the 2023 draft class in the 3rd round, 71st overall. Productive career at TCU. I mean, this is one guy I'm definitely buying low on, and you should be able to get him super cheap right now just because we don't know what he can really do.
Yeah, I love that move, man. When you said that name, he was someone I was looking at. I'm so glad you picked him, because I picked another running back, and we'll go over it here. But I love that because, we love the film on this guy. I mean, you watch the film. He's extremely impressive for his size, what he's capable of doing. The big thing is, can he stay healthy? Yep. If he does, I think that's the only thing that's stopping him, man. And I like what you said about Alvin Kamara. We kind of seen it in the last game of the season. Kendre had a nice little game when he did play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I think another thing I want to add on to Kendre as well, and I absolutely love it, is the fact that he was hurt and didn't get to participate in a lot of stuff and still was a 3rd round pick. So I think that just shows you exactly what the NFL feels like. This is a guy that can bulldoze, but we've seen at TCU, when you're getting an 80-yard run, you're fast too. He might have not ran a 40, but I can tell you he's faster than what a lot of people think. If you're out running safeties and corners, you're not just a bulldozer.
He's a bulldozer. It has a Hemi under the hood.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Kendre can move. He can move for his size. I love that one, Ryan. It was a good one. And your dynasty sneaky buy low type of guy, who do you have?
All right, Ty ain't going to like me for this one because we had a little bit of debate on the last show, but it's actually going to be Jake Browning. I mean, this is a guy that you can get for a penny right now. It's somebody that I feel like he had a pretty good stint there in Cincinnati behind Joe Burrow. And I think this is somebody that's going to want to go somewhere, and he might compete for a starting job. On KTC, he's quarterback, I believe it was 32. 32. So if he can end up getting a starting job and you're getting him for quarterback 3 prices, I mean, I think that's a pretty good gamble. He was in 7.5 games, quarterback 26. So he had multiple quarterback 1 weeks. So threw for over 300 yards 3 times. He did have some pretty bad interceptions at times, but I think that's something that maybe he could clean up. And this is a guy that I'm not saying, hey, he ain't going to be like a Justin Herbert. He ain't going to be nothing special like that. But if you can gain any kind of value and maybe flip him later down the road, I mean, he's a great throw-in piece right now.
Yeah, I love it. Going through, that's what I said, this is going thrift shopping, that's,
yeah.
I mean, you never know. These are kind of dart throw guys, but if you get them cheap, man, it can make your whole season. I think Jake Browning is sneaky. I mean, and let's be honest, even if he goes back to Cincinnati, Joe Burrow hasn't shown a clean bill of health, hardly his whole career. So what happens if he goes down again? You still got a really valuable quarterback handcuff.
I think if I was Cincinnati, I would try really hard to keep him around. I mean, as we mentioned earlier, it's good to have a capable backup. But I just don't see him wanting to do that. And some teams I wrote down here that I think could be looking for him would be Atlanta, Denver, the Raiders, the Rams, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, New England, Tennessee, because we know they did just hire Callahan. So maybe he could go there and fight with Will Levis for a job. I mean, I think that's kind of I think Will Levis could get that, and I'm kind of a Will Levis fan. But I think that's definitely possible in Seattle and Washington. I mean, yeah, some of these guys are probably going to draft a quarterback. But, hey, I mean, there's still a possibility that they don't. So,
yeah. You think Browning is a sneaky little option, Ryan? I mean, is he someone that if you could get maybe for like a 3rd-round pick or something you might pick up?
Yeah, why not? I mean, what are you else going to buy with a third round pick? You
Right.
don't know what you're getting. Like third round pick, these are what we call lottery tickets.
Yep.
And I didn't like Jake Browning at first. Like he was bouncing team to team to team. Like ever since he was drafted. Yeah, he was great in college, but then I saw him play this year, and I'm like, yeah, he looks exactly how I expected, like crap. But then, like as the weeks progressed, so did he. And this team was actually pushing for playoffs with Jake Browning. So I mean, just to see like how he actually improved in that offense, and week in and week out was actually performing. I mean, hell, he was even a fantasy starter for me one week. That's how good
Me too.
was. So like if you're able to get him as a spot in starter, that's worth a third every day in my book.
110%, man. I agree. Well, Ryan, you went to the running back pool from the 23 draft class, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cast my line back in that pool, and I'm going to stay in your division, the NFC North, and I'm going to be looking at Roschon Johnson, man, just for a simple reason. Khalil Herbert, he's been there. He ain't getting it done. I know this is kind of risky because this backfield is chopped up, but at the same time, at times Roschon looked really good and looked like to me he should be the lead guy in that backfield. And to this offense, to me, I think they should draft Caleb Williams. Will they? I don't know. You know how it is with Chicago, Ryan. I mean, it hasn't been great, and they haven't had a quarterback. So I think they need to draft this guy. If they could maybe get a Malik Neighbors or someone like that with that second pick to join DJ Moore, maybe bolster that offensive line. This offense could be a little bit better. And then we could see maybe Roschon slide into more of that number one role. He's kind of just, you could probably pick him up for like a late second, mid-second round pick, I would think somewhere in there. And he's someone I'm willing to take a chance on. As you guys know, we don't like to pay high prices for running backs in dynasty leagues. It can kill your team. But this is a guy you can pick up for a decent price. And if he does end up starting, if you are a contender or in contention, you guys know this too, there's nothing more valuable than running back depth. How do you feel about Roschon next year, Ryan? Because I know this is your division.
TJ, you stole one of my guys right off me. So that just goes to tell you that we're both on the same buy low page here.
I love it.
Yes, I mean, you nailed that one on the head. And plus, let's remember, the Chicago Bears kept Matt Eberflus. Matt Eberflus was the one that also drafted Roschon Johnson. So to kind of see this next step level, is kind of why I'm also on buying Roschon Johnson. Because, yeah, this backfield was a three-headed monster, and it sucked. But there was weeks where actually Roschon Johnson did it actually really, really good. And actually showed that flashes that we saw the few times out of Texas. But we're behind Bijan Robinson. You don't really get to see much. So
yeah, I agree, man. And I'm sorry I stole yours, but great minds think alike, man. So it's like this: we give you a segment off here for a second. So we'll hop back over here to Ann. Ann, who is your second sneaky buy low type of guy? Since I stole Ryan's second option.
And by the way, I love the Roschon one too. I mean, he's somebody that. Man, like Ryan said, when you're behind somebody like Bijan, you just don't get to see all of it. But his vision, and I was really frustrated because Khalil Herbert went down, but then Roschon had a concussion and he was out multiple weeks, and it looked like it was Roschon time. But whenever he missed, then we had to see Foreman, and it was, and then Foreman goes off. It all could have been Roschon. It could have been a different story, but
Foreman's like a fungus, he just never goes away. He goes from team to team, poaches people. Yeah, he's a killer, man.
But my next buy low is actually going to be Greg Dulcich.
Oh,
Dulcich is still only 23 years old. He barely played any time this year, dealing with that hamstring injury. Now, the only concern with a guy like Dulcich is even his rookie year, he was hurt. So he's only really played like 10 career games. So he just really hasn't played a lot, but this is a guy that was a former wide receiver, actually UCLA. So he's somebody that can actually, beat a lot of linebackers. He really did bulk up, but good route runner, can get open. And Sean Payton loves to use the tight ends. We got to remember he's had guys that have been successful, like Jimmy Graham, Jeremy Shockey, Jason Witten. I mean, he's a part of them teams with them guys. So he likes to utilize the tight end, and this is somebody you can take advantage of that with if he can stay on the field. But I feel like everybody's kind of sour on Dulcich from not playing, and then especially whenever, you might have drafted him, in his rookie year right behind a Trey McBride, or maybe some people did draft him over Trey McBride. So when you see somebody like Trey McBride break out and you're sitting there stuck with Dulcich, you might just want him off your roster. So maybe not necessarily a one-for-one trade guy, but just throw him in to say, yeah, just throw in Dulcich and I'll take the deal. So
Yeah. I've always liked Dulcich. It's a shame he can't stay healthy. But like you said, I mean, and we go back to what Ryan said earlier, actually, I mean, with these tight ends, I mean, we're talking about this kind of pre-show. I mean, outside of Brock Bowers and Sanders, of course, I mean, you could pretty much throw this tight end class down the toilet. So if you are tight end needy, you can maybe pick up somebody late like a Dulcich for a late round draft pick and hope you can work some magic. I mean, you never know.
absolutely. I think if you had TJ Hawkinson and you were relying on him, he's probably going to be out most of the season. Maybe that's where you take a gamble on Dulcich. Hell, you might be able to get him for a 4th-round pick. I always say when you're on the clock, that's when that pick is most valuable. And that's when people absolutely, I need this guy. I need this rookie. And that's when you can sometimes take advantage of deals and get guys like Dulcich on your team. Get guys like Kendre or Roschon on your team. So you got to really take advantage of that.
Yeah. And do you agree with that, Ryan, taking a flyer on Dulcich if you're tight end needy? Because we know this class ain't that great.
Oh, tight ends to me are just a hard one to take. And most time people just usually will say, yeah, here, just take them. I'll take that pick no matter what. So why not? Because tight end's just a dart throw nowadays. You know, if you don't have Travis Kelce, you don't have Mark Andrews, you pretty much just have a tight end.
Yep. And I'm going to stick my second sneaky low end buy. I'm going to stick with the tight ends is going to be Luke Musgrave. Another rookie from last year, another guy that was kind of banged up and hurt. We've seen Tucker Kraft become a little more prevalent. But if I'm, I think you could have Musgrave for a mid to late second. And this offense with Green Bay, I've been saying it on the Dynasty DNA show, they're one of the ascending offenses. I want a part of it, and I think this guy, if he's healthy, he's going to be a really, really good pass catcher. And it's kind of going back to what we said. If you're tight end needy, throw the dice, see what happens. I mean, this guy's an athlete. But we know his knock in college was he couldn't stay healthy. He kind of proved that in the pros. But, that's why we're buying these guys low and we're rolling the dice. I mean, you never know if they can get it turned around and get that injury-prone kind of label off of them. I do like Musgrave personally from the athletic standpoint and the offense he's in with Matt LaFleur. Another NFC North one here, Ryan. What do you think about Luke Musgrave?
I was so high on that tight end was so athletic coming in the draft. I'm like, oh, man, this is great. And then they draft Tucker Kraft, and I'm like, what the hell are they doing? But we saw exactly what happened. Musgrave went down because that's what he does.
Yep.
And Tucker Kraft came in and stepped right in. So they knew what the Packers knew what they were doing. They have great tight ends. But yes, you're buying low based on that injury history that he's had. So he is well worth the risk. He's a high risk, high reward type of play get right now. Definitely.
And I've always said it too. If I don't have one of the big boys at the tight end position, give me an athlete that can maybe take a slant route or, like a curl and make something out of it and maybe get a big play for you. Musgrave's that kind of guy if he's on the field. So
yeah,
should be interesting. I love those athletic tight ends. What do you think of Musgrave, Ann? I know you like him.
Yeah, I've always been a Musgrave fan. It's really just like you guys were saying. It's the injuries. I mean, it's the same thing with Dulcich. I mean, when these guys can't stay on the field, it does get frustrating, but it does open up windows to buy these guys at somewhat of a discount. It's just, are you willing to do that? And I think a lot of it with these guys, what you need to take too is a little bit of how is your team, constructed and built. These are people that can gain a lot of value fast. I mean, it goes back to the Trey McBride. I mean, we seen at the beginning of the season, it was Zach Ertz. And then all of a sudden Ertz goes down, Trey McBride comes in and just completely breaks out and the whole community goes nuts. I mean, good luck buying Trey McBride. I mean, will it happen with these guys? Maybe. I mean, it's possible. But I mean, I think you gotta strike. Well, there's a little bit of an opening here.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that was fun. I'm glad you guys wanted to go over that because it's never too early to get some of these buys into place. But we got one last segment here, and it's an important one, and we'll start with Ryan since he's the guest on this show, the guest of honor, the Super Bowl prediction. Ryan, here we go, Super Bowl prediction. I think I know which way you're going with this, but if you had to predict it right now, how's it going to turn out and who wins?
Lions, Chiefs, and Lions are going to win.
Love it, man.
That's my homerism right there. I'm sorry, but I got to say it. Got to send the high.
Hey, they beat them week 1.
Yeah.
They beat them week 1.
Yep, they absolutely did. And Super Bowl prediction, who do you got?
I got Baltimore and Detroit, and I'm with Ryan. I got Detroit winning it. I mean, maybe I'm being a little biased. I'm a Detroit, I like the underdog, man, and I'm not a Baltimore fan, not a KC fan. It would be nice to see Detroit finally bring one home, and not even trying to be biased. I do think they are good enough. Like I said, I get a little worried with the secondary, but that offense, man, it's humming. And if they can put up points, I definitely think they can stop teams as well. So yeah, give me Detroit here, and I'd say it'll be a close game. And I really hope I hit on my Super Bowl poll.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going Detroit, Baltimore, and I'm picking Dan Campbell to be holding Lombardi with the confetti falling down. And I said this, Ryan. I said to Andy, what entertainment would it be with Dan Campbell at the media day for Super Bowl that whole week whenever he's talking to the media? Oh, it'd be great. I'd love every second of it, wouldn't you?
Oh my God. Yeah. I'd videotape it, just so I'd watch it over and over again every day.
I can only imagine some of the stuff that he'd be having going on there, man. It'd be great.
I mean, it's just like when he entered the league, he said he used to be biting people's kneecaps. He wasn't lying, he's showing it, man. So he's a man of his word.
Yeah, he bit he bit the league's kneecaps off. Now he's trampling over them the way to grab the trophy. So
right.
I love his speeches. I fucking love you guys, man. You're all I think about. I'm like, yeah.
That's my coach.
That's right.
How could you not want to play for that guy? So it's awesome. But I know me and Andy wish that the Lions luck for you, Ryan. I know that's a big deal for everyone in Detroit, not just in Detroit, but Michigan. I mean, hey, it's been a long time, and the fact that they're having success, that's awesome. So we'll see if they can keep it going tomorrow. Hopefully they can do that for you. But we're going to close out one more time. Ryan, tell everyone what you got going on at the Fantasy Face-Off Sports Network over there, because it's great, and you guys do a great job, and you do a great job.
Yeah, so as of right now, I got rookie mock drafts rolling out. We're doing one quarterback. We're doing super flex. And now we've even added 2 QB rookie drafts, too. So if you look out for me, find me on Sleeper, Ryan Miner FFB, just like how it is on Twitter. So you'll find me out there and join us in some mock drafts, because as soon as those mock drafts start coming out, I start doing write-ups on them. So I try to get people ahead of the game to kind of see how drafts are rolling out prior to the NFL draft. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Keep me focused.
Yeah, that's a great tool. And the fact that you're doing that, man, all you listeners out there, make sure you take advantage of that and go follow Ryan on Twitter. Great guy, great mind, and a great person to get info from. And we appreciate the heck out of you coming on, Ryan. That means a lot to us, and we're glad to have you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks. I'd be more than happy to come at any time. It's a lot of fun.
Heck yeah, man. We'll do her again. We'll definitely do her again soon. We got all kinds of great stuff coming up, and we definitely will be continuing working together and doing things that'll be great. But guys, make sure you check out all the great shows on the Dynasty DNA Network. We got about 4 of them coming out a week. The main Dynasty DNA show, the double coverage DFS show with Sterling and Big E. They're running that right up to the Super Bowl. They're going to have a big thing going on for that for the Super Bowl. Also, check out the Fantasy Feud coming out with Ty Muscles and Jimmy. They do Dynasty debates. They debate every kind of topic you can imagine. You want to talk about entertainment value, it's there. And make sure you keep checking out this Dynasty DNA Plus show, man. It's awesome because me and Andy have a chance to bring on great guys like Ryan and get their perspective on things heading into this NFL draft, into this offseason. So it's always great stuff. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at DynastyDNA_. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Pod, Stitcher, Google, Amazon. We're in all the big ones, the DNA Strand crew. We can express our appreciation of your support. You guys are the best. I mean, weekly, we see our numbers keep rising and rising. If you enjoy the content, please follow and 5-star. It means the world to us, and we know you're enjoying it, and we're glad to keep bringing it to you. But this is going to do it for this episode, and we will see you guys on the next episode of Dynasty DNA Plus.
See ya.